You know, if we really wanted to define electrosmog, we might have to be smarter than George Bush. We might have to define what is evil. George Bush thinks he knows what's evil, and, you know, he's trying in his own pretty klutzy way. But actually, in physics now, if we understand what life force is every electric field that's able to add its inertia to all of biology, or to what's called embed or nest successfully. So if we can define what waves entering this room are helping all of DNA versus what waves are hurting DNA, which obviously is based on the fractal wavelengths of hydrogen and Planck length. That's the flower fractal core of all physics and all biology. So any wave that fails to nest perfectly is going to hurt biology. And that's perfect nesting. And any wave that doesn't fit that nest is going to hurt all of biology. Practical example, definition of electrosmog. 50 and 60 cycle frequencies, the frequencies at which most of Earth's electric power is distributed. Those frequencies were chosen, mostly by Tesla, for the convenience of rotating generating systems at a time when they didn't have a clue that in biophysics, 50 and 60 cycle, the frequency of all our stupid electrosmog, is actually the frequency at which the voltage required to stop the heart is about the lowest. In other words, the most poisonous frequency to every living person is the 50 and 60 cycles that we've chosen to distribute all our power on planet Earth. Oops, maybe they didn't know how biology worked. Oops, maybe we're putting poison all around ourselves. I mean, all you have to do is pick up the transformer for your computer, and any reasonably sensitive person is going to feel nausea. What's the reason they're feeling nausea? What's the reason why all the women in the front row in my seminars tell me they can't focus and they can't get digestion if I have 4 transformers plugged in the front of my room for the computers? The physics is that those transformers are making frequencies which are destructive to every living thing. So, if we want to get spiritual, which really means simply if we want to put the charge in our aura that enables us to lucid dream and take memory electrically successfully through death, and even to have an immune system, all of those things, aura charging creates lucid dreaming, it creates successful death, it creates healthy immune systems. To charge your aura, to be the Ka in Catholic, the coherence charge envelope, you need to understand the science of life, which means you need to learn to avoid electrosmog. It's really very simple. So electrosmog is the frequencies of charge which inhibit biology. It's that simple. So we could ask a further question. What are the exact frequencies to benefit all life? You know, physics knows what frequencies is the basis of all of science, and that's called the wavelength of Planck, the Planck length, which is a wave like, they say baby drool can dissolve everything. Well, the waves in physics in which everything embeds is called the Planck length. And everything in science divides evenly into that unit of length, 1.61 times 10 to the minus 33 centimeters or thereabouts. So that's called the quantum foam. And if you go a little bit bigger, you get the wavelength of hydrogen, into which most everything divides evenly. And then if you go a little bigger, you get the wavelengths of heartbeats. And then you get the wavelength of the sun. So all these wavelengths fit little wave inside the bigger wave. So if we do log functions of the golden mean ratio times these lengths, we get to things like the Schumann resonance. And so these are frequencies which will trigger a little bit of bliss in every living thing because they turn on what's called DNA radio. So, I mean, you could really take this quite a ways. You could say we could reinvent the power distribution grid of whole countries based on the wavelengths of biology, and they would be a complex harmonic series based on Planck and the golden ratio. And then what would happen? The electric field in our power distribution grid would start to become self-aware, self-organizing. That might mean... The climax of this story is a short scene out of the Dune series book. Well, I think it was Dune Messiah, God Emperor of Dune, you know, Frank Herbert's Dune, you know, the famous movie. And in that movie, they discovered that all the green material on a planet was starting to become self-aware. It was resonating so tightly together, the green of the whole planet started to have a mind. Let's call it Gaia. And then there was a war. The war was between those who wanted every living thing on the planet to become self-aware, versus those who didn't. And how you voted in that war was whether or not you bought a lawnmower. In other words, you can just tell those people who like cutting down trees are afraid of becoming embedded. And most likely those are the people who are still wanting to have secrets, which is the opposite of a shareable wave, which is the opposite of coherence. And like the Hopi said, at the moment of death, you're sitting there looking at the flame in the meeting tent. He says, come on in, the water's fine. The only thing you need to leave at the door as you walk in and look at this flame in the meeting tent is the imagination that you would ever again want a secret thought. So that is a shareable wave, and that is the ticket to successful death. When physics says what wave is most coherent, obviously the one that's fractal, that's the one that can distribute perfectly, and that's the wave which defines sustainability in every living system, and that's what defines perfect charge distribution. And that is actually the frequency recipe for immortality, sustainability, the perfect wave.